to Mindset Monday with the wonderful, the angel impersonated Rosanna Ainslie, who, little secret, she's my sister. She's my baby sister. And I absolutely, we are like chalk and cheese. We are so different. Well, the two are made of calcium. We have calcium in our bodies, and that's about where the similarity ends. But she's my baby sister, and I absolutely adore her. And she has so much wisdom. And so we're going back to, spent the last 2 or 3 weeks talking about maths and mindset around maths. Today we're going back to, and we're going way extreme. We're going to mindset around a healthy mind, really, isn't it, Roseanne?
Yeah.
So I'm going to, it's more about, it's about. Oh, they've been talking a lot in the news about mindfulness. About no, it's because of COVID. Mental health.
So foggy mind. Mental health.
Mental health. Yeah, foggy mind. That's me.
Yeah.
So Rosanna is an astrologer and an awakening coach, and she supports people to gain clarity, step into their greatness, and owning their personal power. The awakening coach she coaches business owners as well as individuals, but your focus is on I'll let you correct me in a minute. And her objective is that you live your life with unwavering passion. And if you want to contact Roseanne, the contact details are down below, as well as her podcast down below, up above, depending whether you're on which platform, social media platform you're on. There's a few ways to get in touch with Rosanna. So yes, please correct me. This is the perfect time for you to say, well, actually, it's not quite like that. It's more like this. So is there anything there that you do want? Oh, look at me. I've got them double Mindset Monday now.
Oh, I love
so
it.
Is there anything there? Oh, thank you. Is there anything that I love my little mathematical shapes here.
Absolutely. Just hanging out there. I love it.
So is there anything there that I didn't quite get right? Or
I feel it's all really good, very well explained, and it is business owners and individuals, because I find that some people don't consider themselves business owners yet, but they have a business mindset, or they want to be able to bring some legacy into the world. So at the end of the day, it's just the difference between being at the beginning or in the middle, or, within you running your own life in your own business. At the end of the day, it's you taking those reins and being there and holding yourself accountable to what your passions are.
So I suppose we didn't actually cover, thank you, we didn't actually cover this during the conversation. Would it be all right if you also address parents of and children, because I know you've worked with children in the past, in terms of helping them with their mindset, like when they have maths anxiety, or just even fear maths or hate maths. If there's any insights that you've got there, those would be really valuable as well. Would it be all right if we go back a little bit and follow your path to how you got to where you are now, which is actually, you haven't said that in your, you've become becoming a little bit renowned, aren't you? Just a teeny bit. You're in certain circles, you're getting a bit of a name for yourself. You're not tooting your own horn here. I know you recently got on a platform which has some very big names on it.
Yeah.
And so Roseanne is a powerful contact. So yes, can we?
Yes,
I'll let you tell the story. Would you like to tell whatever you want to tell up to the age of, let's say, the beginning of your journey? So up to the age of what? At what point did your own personal awakening start? At what age? We go up to that age. So what age-ish?
I would say my conscious awakening started when I was about 10 10, 11 years ago now. It was 2010, 2011. Yeah.
Okay. So can we just briefly cover the journey before that, and
yes,
then we'll go into more detail?
Yes. And the reason why I say consciously awakening is because as a child, I believe I was already awakened. You know, I remember being very happy childhood up until a certain point where there was some quite, for me, dramatical changes in my life. Because as again, it's always the perspective of that particular person, in this case myself, and I could have other sisters or brothers beside me and they'll have a completely different experience. And so I remember just being very happy, you know, climbing up trees, jumping off trees, playing with friends, and speaking to people I didn't know on the street, and, you know,
on the canal.
So I was being, you know, so the difference is that later on in life, I then become conscious of what it is to be, versus then I was just being. So I was just naturally awake, I guess. And so then later on, when I was 7, I moved to Cape Town, and I left behind some very dear friends in London, my childhood friends. And I actually loved my life in London and in England. And in South Africa, you know, I made new friends again. And I found, for example, the school system really interesting, very ambitious, extremely ambitious. And before, you know, we'd already be doing maths and things before I was 7 in London, but there was something different. There was definitely competition, and there was much more ambition in the air. At the same time, there were more opportunities, you know, and some people may see South Africa as in some way not very developed, but what my experience as a child is, it was very developed, and I had, you know, the opportunity to be part of a choir, be part of a swimming team, be part of all sorts of things that, you know, it was all within the school. And later on, when I was 10, I moved to Spain, and the school experience was completely different then. I barely had to do anything to get good marks. So it was completely different to my school experience in Cape Town. And at the same time, of course, that made me a little bit lazy. But it gave me the chance to socialize much more. So as always, everything always has its pros and its cons. And when I moved into high school, that's when some challenges really started to come about, especially around maths. So it was around physics and maths, not so much chemistry.
This is news to me.
Well, and I got completely stuck at the age of 14, 15, completely blocked. It got worse by the age of 16, but yes, around that age. I moved from a school where the standards, the math standards were quite low, and the high school that was the one for me, according to my address, there was too much of a jump. So I get quite low grades, and then it got to a point where I couldn't even pass. And I remember one summer feeling really upset because I hadn't passed the year, and absolutely no awareness of how I could pass my maths. And my family would try and help me feel better, and to not put so much pressure on myself about the fact that I hadn't passed. And it can be very difficult if you're used to having good grades, to suddenly not even being able to pass a subject. And eventually I was able to get private classes. I was able to get support. I did have my twin sister, Caroline, has 2 youngest daughters. Where did that come from? 2 youngest.
I do actually think of you all more of my daughters and my sisters, a bit of both. and your children and my grandchildren. Yeah.
Sometimes words can just come because they're just there, aren't they, energetically?
The children call me Nana. You do know that, don't you?
Well,
the next generation call me Nana.
Yeah. And so my twin sister, she was extremely good at maths, and she'd get the top grade in class, and she tried to explain it to me and it just wouldn't go in. There was nothing I could do. I was completely brain blocked. And it took a wonderful lady to help me, and she explained it very slowly, bit by bit. She went back to the basics, and eventually until, you know, I built enough confidence to get through my exams myself. And it took being in a quiet place. It took being with someone who was very good at breaking things down to the absolute basics. And this was key for me. And so, yeah, I managed to build up my grades, and to the point of even getting good grades in an area of maths where others couldn't do it. So
that's why I was surprised, because my experience of you with maths was a bit later in your 20s, when you were really good at it and you just jumped right in. So I didn't know about that episode.
Yes, and it's interesting because later on, I studied commerce, and we had different types of maths, and there were certain areas of the maths that we were doing. So bookkeeping and the numbers across the paper and stuff, no problem. But when it came to compounding maths in economic finances, I, again, got completely blocked. So they're just some areas that, you know, we need additional support. We need additional, one-to-one. And
it's that breaking it down with calm and patience. And it's due to lack of understanding, lack of fundamental understanding, because the person that's teaching you is making assumptions that you're ready to go there, and you're not. You're only ready to go here. And it is definitely not to do. There's so much of that in the world, unfortunately, in maths classrooms in general. And even a couple of years ago, I did a workshop with some lovely, it was all women, just happened to be all women in this company, and they brought us in because they didn't understand how to work out their timetable and their percentages, how to invoice their customers in terms of breaking down the times, how to do percentages, just really basic things, but they're things that they just never had understood. So when it was broken down for them in such a way, then they were, oh, is that all? So yeah, that is it. But because they just didn't have that basic understanding, it's very normal, unfortunately. But it's also, as you found, that's great. So did you manage to also overcome that?
Yes. Eventually, I had a classmate, and she helped me. She felt very confident in the particular area of maths where I was struggling in the compounding. For example, finance compound of money, for example, how that works.
Interest rate, compounding interest rates.
Yes, yeah. And so she felt so confident in it, and she was able to spend some time with me and work through that. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. So I'm going to ask you at the end about your insights on how to help, because my focus is maths, but Mindset Monday is about the mindset. So we cover all different areas. But I will ask you at the end to just, I've made a few notes, but just a few insights on how to help people in that situation and overcome it. So you've given us some great ideas there. So I know you got your degree. You hadn't got, and then you got
a wind here. I've got door.
Oh, is that what it was? The wind wasn't the cat. So you decided to get a degree, which because you'd done a commerce qualification, and you decided to get a degree, which you excelled in.
Yes, I did the commerce because it was something practical in the area at the time. I was unable, due to finances, I wasn't able to study what I originally wanted to study. was too far away, so you needed extra finances, and you had to pay rent in that town, city, to stay there. And at the time, it wasn't an option. And that's okay, because we don't have to all study our degree at the age of 18 or 19 or 20. It actually is a good thing to give ourselves more time to decide what we really want to do in life. And so I did study something very practical, because it was very renowned, like it was very practical for the area where I was living at the time. There were lots of export-import companies in the area, and they required, yes, this sort of, and commerce, as in the salesperson who knows what he's doing.
Comerciante, salesperson, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I'm very so you did something practical, and then you found something you were really passionate about later and decided to do your degree.
Yeah. Well, what happened is, when I was about 26 or so, I moved back to London, and I started to earn some more money. And I then considered, actually, perhaps I'm going to finally study what I wanted to study. I put some money aside. And so at the time, it was going to be physiotherapy or osteopathy. And what happened is that at the end of the day, what I'm passionate about is supporting others in the best way that I can. And I love the physical body. I continue giving massages, and I'll give them to a friend who's feeling, some tension or whatever. And I use other techniques now that I've learned along the way, energetic techniques and emotional release techniques. And so, it's still in me. What happened is that I then went to do a course to prepare me for that degree. And along the way, there was a very open-minded tutor, and we had a subject that was about studying techniques, communication and studying techniques. And she didn't direct it towards the degree that we were preparing ourselves for. She left it very open. And she said one day, she said, just take an article from the newspaper, anything that you think is interesting, and do an essay on it. And so I opened The Guardian, a well-known newspaper in the UK, and there I saw climate change, a big article on climate change. This was just before 2017, which was a big year 2007, which was a big year, yes, for climate change. And it suddenly hit me. I was like, what am I doing? What's really important is the planet. Our bodies, yes, they're important, but if the planet's not okay, then it doesn't matter what body we're in. So again, there was this interest of going back to the root of things. So going back to what is actually below, what is at the base of things. So when we talked about maths before, I have to go to the basics. I need to go to the origin of where the problem starts.
So we're back to basics again. Okay, I've got a double underline on that now. Okay.
Yeah. So because I'm continuously growing and evolving, I finished my degree, and yes, very happy. I got an honours degree, and there was a bit of law of attraction work and manifestation work in getting that. I'm not going to say that isn't true. And I actually use that when I've worked with children. I tell them to visualize the mark they want to get. Do they want to get a 9? Do they want to get a 10? And actually visualize it, because it does help. And so I did use that towards the end of my degree. I felt I wasn't going to quite get to the honours degree, and I did use visualization, and I used wonderful energetic vortex kind of techniques.
and you manifested help from your sister and friends, and you put a lot of work into it. So you did a lot of research. I mean, so the whole thing, it all came together beautifully.
Yeah, I was passionate about what I was studying.
So we don't have. I want to make sure we get on to what you're doing now. So you've got you got your degree. I'm loving this story.
Speed things up. Yes, I got my degree, and then what happened is that because I studied environmental management in the end, and I finished the degree, I realized that the biggest challenge was finances. So the environment is always, so economics always overtake environmental importance. So in sustainability, when we're looking at, so it needs to be social, economic, and environmental. Okay, so those are the three areas, and they need to be in balance. But we always found that when the environmental issues appeared, the economics always took over.
Right.
And so the environmental issues would put to one side because the money was more important. So I realized then I had to go deeper. And so then I looked into the mindset around money. Why is there so much need for money in the world? Why is it becoming more of a priority than environment, than looking after nature, and looking after our inner nature even? And that took me down a path of then studying relationship with money and doing workshops around relationship with money. And there I found,
And that's where you really started looking into the state of mind.
Yes, absolutely. And how all the beliefs around money, the emotions attached to money. So everything that's driving, especially the fear and the, self-worth, self-value, all, centered around money. And there's a great book that I love, which is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. And I read his book, and I actually did some deep mentoring around that book, as in I was the mentee. And I found that in my core, I had put money as a center. So depending on how much money I had, I'd value myself or not, instead of putting me at the center.
So let me see. And then I'm writing something down, and it's more generic than just money. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Thank you. And now throughout all this, I know that you've always been, I don't know about always, that's a big statement, but certainly when you were doing your degree and before that, the word spiritual might be used. In other words, you do the manifesting. You're a strong believer in astrology. Well, obviously now you're really a strong believer in astrology, but you always were interested in astrology. So it wasn't. How did that evolve to where you are now, which is an astrologer?
So it evolved basically from the deep need to understand myself better. And in the understanding of myself and how I function and how the mind functions, how the emotions function, how the energetic body functions, how the spiritual body functions, I then get to support others from my own experience. And so
this was a parallel journey, though, wasn't it? So all these things you've been telling us about, this is a parallel journey. It was going on, this personal, very, very personal journey was going on at the same time as your career moves.
Yes, the only thing is the actual awakening happened towards the last year of my degree. It started in the second, so by the third year, it was 4 years of degree. In my third year is when, I had a big awakening. The first layer was, the first veil was lifted. And because I was studying environmental management at the time, I wanted to know what was going on with the planet. And I asked for awareness around what's really going on with our planet. It's our home. And so I got this big vision after a big personal development event that Caroline invited me to by Christopher Howard, called Breakthrough to Success. And I got a lot from that weekend, a lot. And one of the biggest things I got is that we were evolving and the planet was evolving. And I wanted to understand the differences between negative and positive vibrations, while obviously, as you said, getting on with the rest of my life. Because the way that I have learned, a lot of the things that I've learned is actually just by going out there and hanging out with other people and feeling what I'm feeling and learning what I'm learning, checking, whether something's really upsetting me, whether it's not, where is that coming from, and how can I improve my life, and how can I enjoy life more, especially that, and how can I love deeper. That is, actually part of my biggest passions, is to love humanity in the deepest way I can, and for others to be able to feel the same.
Now that's something we do have in common.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
You were talking away at the beginning, we don't have much in common, and I was like, I could say a few things we do.
Oh, well, we'll have to have that conversation. I'd like that conversation to find out what I've got in common with you, because I admire you so much, and I'm in awe of what you've achieved over the years, I have to say. And so, okay, I'm making a few notes here for my summary at the end. Now, some lovely pointers. It's definitely time to say, okay, so that was the journey. We're going to fast forward now. You've done a lot of, you've basically gone through the process of becoming an astrologer, becoming the person that people turn to rather than the person that because you were turning to people like yourself. I know you were a few years ago. You have now become that person. Well, presumably you also still have mentors. Absolutely. That you still, but you are at that level where you're helping the people that were once upon a time were you. So can you tell us about that? As I say, the links are in, if you like the sound of what you're hearing. Oh, look, we've got a comment. Hold on 1 second. Who have we got? Economics. Oh dear. Not even economists understand economics. that was a while ago when you were talking about the commercial career.
Well, funnily enough, economists understand economy. You'd be surprised.
Well, no, she says not even economists understand economics.
That's right. Because we go through indoctrinations. Yeah. When we go through degrees, we go through indoctrinations. And depending who runs the degree and who establishes the degree wants to indoctrinate certain beliefs, certain systems. And so an economist can lose out on a lot of information. Absolutely.
I heard the most extraordinary thing a couple of days ago from a thinker. He just passed on. It's somebody that the one with the hats, the thinking hats, the mindset hats, the black hat and the red hat,
that you can change your
De Bono. And apparently he was a thinker, and his comment was he's not about creativity, because there's a creative person can actually still be blinkered, so they can still have a particular focus. They can be very creative in one area and one area only. So and it can actually prevent open thinking and real creative thinking. So what I think of creativity is you've got the world is your oyster and you've got lots of options. That he was actually no, it can be the opposite. It can be totally blinkered. So that economists can definitely be like that. I want to hear about you. I'm bringing it back to you. We've got 10 minutes left. Tell us about what you're doing now, and did you have something a little activity you were going to do with us? Have we got time? I hope. Well, we're going to make time.
Yes, we'll make time. And what we'll do is a little activity about unconscious commitments. Okay. because it's very enlightening. We all hear about, you know, not everybody. If you've never heard about it before, you've heard about, and maybe the ones, some of you have, some of you haven't heard about NLP and changing your beliefs and things like that. A lot of people have done that. And when they come to me and they discover what unconscious commitments are and how to shift them into conscious commitments, they often get surprised and they go, oh, I thought I had done that, but this one's different. And I find it actually really relieving, this way of doing it, okay, which is basically allowing yourself to be more conscious of what you're committing to. And I think that's a big part of mindset. You want to, you know, be conscious of what you're committing to. Do you need something, Caroline?
Shall we do it?
Yeah. Okay, right. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
And so, because I heard a bell and I thought, oh, what's that?
Oh no, that's my. I keep doing my best to silence my phone, and it keeps dinging. And I don't know how to make it silent. It just keeps going off.
Going, oh, it's time.
No.
Okay. Let's go into unconscious commitments. And yeah, no. Before we go in, because you did say you wanted like me to explain how did I get to where I'm at now. And at the end of the day, for the last 10 years, I've been supporting people on and off around their well-being, around their, I've also worked as a spiritual guide. So people who have genuine existential questions, I'm also there for them. And astrology came into my life not so long ago in terms of actually going deep into astrology. But when I was a teenager, I loved it and I never stopped loving it. But I had to check whatever I went deep into. It had to be something that it doesn't like influence your life. It doesn't take your power away. I had to double check that astrology, anything that I do, anything that I say, I'm always double checking whether it's something that I'm giving my power away or taking the power away from someone else, because this is key for our well-being. And astrology, I found, doesn't do that. Astrology is actually very mathematical and it helps us to understand things. So therefore, it's actually empowering versus disempowering.
Okay.
And yeah, so I did that. And then because of all the work I've been doing over the years with different people, I then established that I am, and I realized that I was an awakening coach, because my passion is for people to wake up to who they truly are and to wake up to their heart's passion and to actually live from there and free themselves from anything that's stopping them in that way. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so unconscious commitments. I'd like you to think about something, an area of your life that you're not happy around, that you're just really not happy around. Okay, you don't have to say it. You can just write it down. Yeah, just, write down. And this is a moment where you can allow yourself all the complaints. This is not about, oh, no, I don't want to write that, I don't want to write that, No, this is the moment when you can write your complaints. Okay, so you write down your complaints about that area. Okay. And you give yourself time to write down at least 5 complaints. So it could be, I'm sick and tired of my children always leaving their room untidy, or I just don't want to be in this job anymore, and I'm tired of the routine, and every day, seems like the same work. That could be something around your job, and it doesn't inspire me anymore, and you can just be writing things like this. And even as an entrepreneur, you can get to a point when you can get tired of your business as well.
That wasn't happening to me this morning at all.
And it's beautiful because it just brings up another layer that wants to free itself. And so then you take one of those unconscious commitments, okay, and you acknowledge it and you say, I am unconsciously committed to, and you take your complaint.
Okay.
So I am unconsciously, I was talking about, for example, somebody who's tired of going to the same job every day, they're unconsciously committed to, what would it be? To routines, for example. You see? So they're unconsciously committed to routines. Okay.
Okay, I've got mine.
And so then what is it about a routine that you're not liking anymore? So then you take your example and you say, what is it about that thing? So you go a little bit deeper and you go, well, I find the routine boring. Yeah. Okay, so I'm unconsciously committed to boredom.
Oh my goodness. Well, that means I'm unconsciously committed to stress.
Absolutely.
That's the next level. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for sharing it with us, Caroline. Thank you so much. Because, you don't have to. And so can we go with that one then, Caroline?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, no, that was the next level. I hadn't connected the two. This is really good. Keep going.
Yes.
Okay. And then I want you. Go ahead. Sorry. So I'm now thinking, how am I going to connect it to the mass? But go.
Yes. So you're unconsciously committed to stress. Okay. Right. So you take a moment. I'm unconsciously committed to stress. Oh, right. As you said, I love that aha moment of, okay. So what does stress provide you with?
I'm so stressed that my brain isn't working. What's that stuff, the chemicals that go through your body that make you excited, that when you're
it's not the
it's fight or flight adrenaline. I think that might be it.
Yeah. So
I'm a junkie.
Adrenaline junkie. Yes. So what is it actually stopping you from allowing yourself to be? That unconscious commitment, what is it actually stopping you from allowing yourself to have or to be?
Okay.
So what would you then consciously commit to if you had a choice?
It's calm. Being calm.
That's it. And so you go, okay, so you take the opposite. Yeah. So, I'm unconsciously committed to stress. So I'm consciously committed to calm.
Okay.
And then it's important that you see how that feels in your body when you say that.
Okay.
What do you feel when you say, I am consciously committed to being calm or calmness?
The buzz kind of stops. The buzz certainly reduces. I don't know. I can't say it stops at this point, but there's much less buzz.
Okay.
And I don't like the buzz, but apparently I do.
Yes. Well, yeah.
I'm unconsciously committed to the buzz,
exactly. But yes. And so the ideal is for the conscious commitment for you to actually feel joy. You want to get to the stage where you feel joy when you connect to that conscious commitment. You want to feel joy.
Okay.
So you check with your body and you're like, is there any uncomfortable feeling when the buzz goes down? In your case, is there any uncomfortable feeling? So if you committed to, I am consciously committed to calm and to calmness, is there any other feeling, any other emotion that may come up?
It feels like it opens more possibilities. It makes more things possible.
And can you feel that everywhere in your body when you say that?
Now that you point it out, I can, if I want to, I can address that. Yes, I can go, okay, all right, yeah, I can feel my toes, my fingertips. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. And what would stop you from committing to calmness?
You got me there.
As in, there's nothing stopping you from committing to calmness?
I suppose so, yeah. Nothing comes up, so okay, there's nothing stopping me from committing to calmness.
Okay. So are you willing to commit to calmness?
Ooh, now you got me. Oh, I like this adrenaline thing. Yes, go on. I'm willing to commit to being calm and calmness. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a conscious commitment. So it's a commitment. Okay. So that means that every day you remind yourself of your conscious commitments.
Okay. All right. Okay. I can do that.
And so, of course, you can do this with any area. And sometimes it can be something that goes deep. Yes. When, for example, somebody is always helping other people, and so they realize that they are unconsciously committed to not helping themselves.
Right.
And then, of course, on a deeper level, they're not worthy of being there for themselves. So they would need to consciously commit to worthiness.
Right.
Yeah. So
interesting.
What's behind it? Okay.
Have you got a YouTube on this or anything like that people can go to? Is this something they can not yet? You're working on it. Is this something that people can? I've actually, because I was expecting it to be more woo-woo, I have to say. When you said, shall I do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, yes, do it, but I didn't know what it was going to be. But this is very practical. This is extremely practical. It's just like, okay, just talking to yourself. It's very practical.
That's just because my sister Caroline, considers me quite woo-woo, but and
yet I'm a strong believer in God. So it's like we both have our spiritual aspect in a very in our own ways. So okay, well, that's all the time we have time for today. But you know what? I'm going to actually doing this unconscious commitment. I can see this being very powerful with young learners, people that have decided they hate maths or anxious about maths. So I think we're going to have a conversation about that and see if we can somehow integrate your work into the happy maths courses that are coming up. We're doing a happy maths summer camp, and then in the fall and autumn we're going to be doing happy maths courses. So this would actually be a great enhancement to it, and like helping the learners and the families overcome the anxiety around maths. Because we've had stories about children literally in tears and the families pulling their hair out because the child just can't, as you say, they're completely blocked, but at a young age, at age 7 and 8, and it's just heartbreaking. So that would be amazing if we could look into that.
You just ask them to write out what they think about that particular thing.
Having you lead it though makes a difference. And I love your voice. If you get a chance, you Google, look on YouTube for Roseanne's meditations. Oh my goodness, I love them. It's such an amazing voice.
The platform that Caroline was talking about before is Insight Timer. So if you look up my name, I've put so Rosanna is the name I gave myself about 5 years ago now, but my name on Insight Timer is Rosanne, Rosanne, and then my surname Ainslie Allen, and you can find me under Rosanne Ainslie Allen on Insight Timer, and there I will be posting more and more meditations, and that will definitely help with any anxiety. Thank you, Caroline. That's fantastic. And yes, just really quickly before you go on, you were saying, how can people, if I don't have a YouTube video about this, it's in my awakening programs. Okay, so they're programs that last between 6 and 9 months, where you commit to really, becoming an awakened person in your life on every level. Yeah, so you raise your vibration, you raise your mindset, you raise your spiritual awareness, you improve your emotional well-being, and it's all in one package. And in that package, we obviously go through unconscious commitments.
Right. Okay. Now that's making sense. And you can connect with Roseanne in the comments. There's a link where you can set up a time with her with Calendly, and just go to that, click on that, and set up a time to have a chat with Rosanna about that. So that's Roseanne. See, so I'm confused now. We've got Roseanne and Rosanna. So right, I'm just going to very quickly summarize, because I've got I'm going to having happy maths hour next, and we've got to do a little bit of prep before that starts. But I've got back to basics. So if you've got the anxiety, this is specific to it's anything, it's not just maths. Go back to the basics. If you're struggling with something, you're blocked with something, go back to the basics, no matter what it is. If it's exercise, if you're running, go back to basics. If you're not, running, you don't want to start running a marathon day one. So open your mind is something I wrote out. Calm, and that came back and bit me, didn't it? Break it down. And then one of the things throughout what you were saying is take the journey. Roseanne, your story is very inspiring, because you've done so many things in the journey of finding yourself, I suppose. People say, well, what's my purpose in life? Well, Roseanne's a great example of do this and do that and do the other and do the other, and eventually you will find it. Yeah. And you're probably going to have another change, another whatever improvement, up level, whatever you want to call it.
I just quickly say something, Caroline.
Yeah.
In astrology, it actually is shown that around the age of 40, we get an opportunity to truly step into our purpose. And again, at the age of 50 and a bit. Okay, so
I was 42 when I found my purpose, and now I'm about to be 60. So I'm looking forward to So, and then be aware of your mental health, no matter what age you are. Be conscious of that and your state of mind throughout your endeavors. And then, contact Roseanne about your unconscious commitments. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. And I really would love to integrate the unconscious commitments into because our course, our Happy Maths course, is all about overcoming anxiety and becoming successful throughout, and not just in maths, but obviously maths is our focus, but we want it to be more holistic than that. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for joining me. I hope you join again. And
if you hear any crackling noises, it's cats.
It's the cats
playing with some bags.
We love cats.
We love cats.
Thank you, Roseanne.
And Caroline, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's been a true pleasure. Eye-opening for me too. I'll see you next time. I'll see everybody else next week, same time, Mindset Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.